So
Should
good.
have plugged in.
You should have plugged in.
Wait, hold
Okay.
on. We ain't ready yet. Hold on. I got 16 seconds. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
No, no, we're live.
Oh, hi, guys. I'm getting
So
plugged in.
you guys get to see the behind the scenes. Look. Yep. So hey guys,
Hey,
welcome
guys.
to Into the Woods. This is Dwayne.
This is Danita. Hi, everyone.
So what's up, Danita? How was your week?
It was great. How was yours?
Mine was great. These
Yeah.
last several weeks have been amazing. I've had so much energy, so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think because I'm learning a lot and I'm meeting a lot of people, and so yeah, that just energizes me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun learning and meeting new people, right? You
Yeah,
just expand. So it's
that's
cool.
right.
That's cool.
And it's that time of the year, right? Holiday time.
It is. It
Hmm.
is. I had some coquito the other day. It was fabulous.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, viewers, you know what coquito is. I'm
Yeah,
just
they
saying,
know
it's a holiday.
they know. I didn't say anything. But hey, Um, yeah. So we watched. What did we watch? What's Christmas? It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, I remember
Um,
you.
I was like that. And I've been watching snippets of Miracle on 34th Street.
You
And
know,
then what
I like
else?
that.
You don't remember that one?
I do remember they just got on my nerves when I was younger. I just like, man, like just get the toys and
Did I say
whatnot. You don't have
31st?
to go through the
Anyway, 42nd. Yeah.
huh?
Okay. Did you say it used to get on your nerves?
Yeah, I didn't like it much. You
Okay.
know what?
All
I
right.
think more
Why?
because I was more into Rudolph and Frosty and because I watched that when I was younger. So to me it was
Hmm.
like, where are the reindeers and, stuff like that.
Right,
I
right.
just didn't like it.
Well,
Then I'm
that
not
interesting.
now, huh?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying then. Now, clearly, I'll have a different perspective on it. But
Hmm.
younger and watching it, I just wanted declamation.
No, but the claymation, those were fun.
Those were fun. They still are. They
Yeah,
still
yeah.
are. Yeah. So,
And so that's actually, we were talking earlier about perspective, right? How we see
mhm.
things. And we actually started talking about this a little bit last week. We were talking about this idea of our concept of the tide, right? And with
Yes.
the tide rising and falling.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
sent you the video from, I think, was it Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Uh-huh.
What did you
Yes.
think
The
of it?
conversation. And you saw what I sent you. Because what he said is exactly what Dwayne said. He said the earth is in a pocket of water. So think of the earth as round and the pocket of water is oval. And so the earth pretty much shifts back and forth within that oval. And that's why you got the tide.
Hmm.
Tide. Tide.
Right, not tithe, but tide.
Tide. Yeah. So listening to that, it just and the visual that he created, it was like, yeah. You
Mind
don't think
blown, mind
about it
blown.
like that. You
Oh
don't
no, no.
think the earth is moving in that way. Let me say it that way.
Right, right. Because in my mind, the water is on the earth, and so the water has to move towards the earth or away from the earth, right?
Right. Not the
So
other way around.
it wasn't my mind that the earth is actually spinning and the earth is moving towards the water or away from the water.
Right. 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 That's weird. Because now in my mind, I'm trying to figure out it's if the earth is in the water, that means the water is just floating around in space. So then
Mm.
why is it not floating away?
Mm. That's a good
See?
question.
So
It probably has to do with the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun and how we're turning, right? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we get him on the show. I'm going to send him a message and said, "Hey, Mr. Degrassi, can you come on and explain some things to us?" You think he'd come on?
Yeah, I think he would.
You think he would? Okay.
I think he would. Yeah.
I'll have to send him a message. Let's see. Can I do that right now? No. Okay, we won't. All right. So yeah. So perspective it's huge, right? So the way you see something determines how you interact with that thing and ideas that you have about other things.
Exactly. Yeah. Your experiences in life shapes that.
Right. I think I mentioned this before. I don't know if it was on this show, probably, because it seems like I was explaining something to someone. But I have this book. Let me see if I can. Pop a different. Anyway, you can probably see it. It's called. Can you see that?
I see it. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's called The Story of My Life. And I don't know if you remember when we were at the beach, we kind of looked through it, and I was asking you if you remembered the apartment and how the house looked. And for one of them, I think we were pretty similar to each other. And then for the other one, it was different. I don't remember which house it was that we did. But for those of you out there. No, go ahead.
No, I think we did Green Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's this book that I have called The Story of My Life. Didn't I give one of this to you guys too? Danita?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. I don't remember getting one like that.
Okay, well I have one for all of you guys. But but the book has like prompts, right? So and obviously I don't know if you can be able to see that, but it says right. So it says describe an illness or injury that stands out in your memory. So and it's really a little book that prompts you to record different things in your life. The first one said make a basic timeline of your life, and so you're listing a bunch of from the time you were born. 1 to 5 years old, 6 to 10 years old, 11 to 15 years old, 16 to 20 years old, 21 to 25. And it goes through that up until age 85, right? So you're writing every 5 years, you're writing out things that you remember in that area, or what is the history behind your family's name, right? So it's basically trying to get you to write your story. Is what it's called. So basically the story of my life. And I was thinking about this as I was coming on, that if I wrote this out, right, and I handed it to you, and you wrote yours and you handed it to me, there would be stories in there that are the exact same story that we both experienced, but you would be telling me something. And I was like, well, that's not how it happened, or that's not what I remember. Right. So our perspectives are so different, and they really impact our lives. Yeah.
Your views. Again, the things that happen to you in your life, no matter if we have the same experiences. I don't know what's going on tonight. But based on the things we had happen in our lives separately, we're going to see it differently. Yeah.
Right. I guess that's kind of like, this idea of eyewitnesses, where you take a bunch of people and, they see a traffic accident or they see something go on, and you interview them. And even though they're standing there watching exactly the same thing, you get a different version. I think that, kind of like the Bible, right? So we got these guys who hung out with Jesus, and they're all telling their stories from their perspective.
Their perspective, yeah.
I had Kirk Nugent, Pastor Kirk Nugent, on my show a couple of nights ago, and we talked a little bit about that, right? About perspective, because he said when we hear about the Bible, for example, we hear about the Bible from the perspective of a pastor. Right. So the pastor comes to the Bible with a particular perspective. And all
Perfect.
pastors, even though they have different experiences, right? They're individual, but their perspective as ministers, they come to the Bible with a certain perspective. Now, if you got a biller to go through the Bible and explain the Bible to you from the perspective of a biller, you would see it differently.
Of course.
So, because they're looking, and every time they see money, they're like, "Oh,
They
that's
look at it.
important."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Again.
Well,
No, go ahead.
yeah. Just more examples of that, or the guy who's a street sweeper, or the guy who works with computers, or the person who's a teacher. They're all telling the Bible stories, and you can connect. The teachers will connect to the teacher. The IT person will connect to the IT. Not that the pastor or those who give that perspective can't connect with you, but you can uniquely connect with that person because that person shares your experience or perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like you said, depending on who you are, you would more elaborate on the parts that you find that are important. I think that's the key there.
Right. When I was in residency and trying to figure out what I was going to do as a specialty, I worked with a guy by the name of Dr. Corsill. Shout out again, Dr. Corsill, Dr. K. And he explained to me, because remember, my background is computer science. That's what I did initially. That's what I did prior to medicine. And so the endocrine system didn't make sense to me. Right.
Okay.
And I'm an endocrinologist now, by the way. Right. But it didn't make sense. I didn't like it in school. And so I'm in this clinic and we're seeing a patient who has a thyroid problem. And he starts to explain it to me and relating it to a computer program. And when he did that, it's like, what?
Yes. Yeah. Because that excites you.
Yes. Yes, it did. And I'm saying, do you mean to tell me that all these years somebody could have just said that and made this thing understandable to me? Is that what? And I was like,
Yes.
and I was like, ooh. And then all of a sudden I started looking at all the other stuff in that area. And I was like, it is like a computer.
Because now you can relate. You
Now I
can
can
relate to it. Yeah.
I remember going back to Guyana, which is where we're from, by the way. And I was looking at, we went back to the house where I grew up, where we grew up there in Rose Hall. And it looked so small. And I was thinking about all the people that were in the house when we were growing up. I was like, well, how did all these people fit in here?
It's because we thought it was big. They fit because we thought it was big.
Right. Wow.
So yeah. Perspective.
So how has, or can you think of anything that has shaped your idea now and you look back and say, oh, that was just a different perspective that I had back then? Or anything right now that goes on? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I could say, but that would be more of size. The upper room, when we first moved here, and we were at the church, and the upper room, it looked so big. Even on Empire, Goshen, it looks so big. And now it's this little teeny thing.
Little tiny thing, right?
So I mean, the question you asked is if anything has shaped or looked different to me now. But I mean, I was on the spot. The only thing that popped up was those two things that, they look so much smaller to me now. I mean, I'm constantly changing. My perspective is constantly changing, on different different things like at work. I can relate to my boss now. I understand her positions. Before it was like, man, you get on my nerves. I'm not even dealing with you. But now
Right.
I
Right.
can be like, okay, I understand. I mean, it's just a small thing, but yeah.
Cool. So if you guys see my background changing color there, so Blake and I have a set of lights that I use here in the office, and Blake has a set of similar lights that he uses when he's doing his video, and the remotes will control either. So sometimes he's out there and he's creating his scenes, right, for his video, and he'll change his colors, and then my color will change. And I don't think he always notices that, but yeah.
Oh my God.
But
He's
anyway,
changing your perspective.
He's changing the perspective. There, look at that. Well, I think that one of the things for me that has changed in terms of perspective is I see. Let me see how to say this. So I see myself in the world differently than when I was younger, which I guess should happen, right? Because as you grow. But as I look back, I think a lot of things that I did was with the intention of pleasing people, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So kind of that, people pleaser. And now, and so that was, okay, I always had to get their approval, their love, their, so their relationship with me. And now I am still continuing to learn, by the way, but I see myself sufficient. I'm seeing myself more sufficient in who I am, right? So this is who Dwayne is. Dwayne has to continue to improve, but I don't have to please anymore, right? I am able to more readily stand on my own and say, okay, this is who Dwayne is. As opposed to before, changing who Dwayne is so that X person would like me, or X person would be my friend, or X person would be whatever, or I can be inclusive in that group. So that's a perspective that I think has changed for me.
So do you feel more relaxed as opposed to what it was before? Was that exhausting for you, or how do you feel? I mean, I know it's changed your perspective, but inwardly, how does that feel now?
Yeah, it feels more relaxed. There's a lot of energy that goes into people pleasing.
Yeah.
Right? Because potentially if you run into 100 people, you're changing 100 times.
Right. Right.
And that can be exhausting. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I feel more settled, more comfortable in my skin and who I am. And am able, I think, more readily to be who I am and say, okay, yeah, I know there are some things about me that people won't like, and there are some things that I have to improve, but I'm not changing simply because I want your approval.
Right.
Yay for me. Let me give you my hand clap.
Hey, yay for me too. I think I'm right there with you.
You're right. Okay, let me give you hand clap and music. There you go.
So do you think so I think this is a good conversation to have. Do you think that happens with age or experience, or is it both?
I think for a lot of people it's both. I think for me it's both. But I think it can happen sooner if we are intentional about it. And when I say we, those people, and I'm talking about parents, guardians, older people. I think if we're intentional, we can teach the younger folks to get there sooner than to wait until they're in their 40s, 50s to get there. Because right now, a lot of people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s even, are still struggling with that. So they've never gotten to the point where it makes sense because nobody has kind of helped them maneuver in that way. And so they're going to figure it out, or they will, they may figure it out. But it's taken them all those years, as opposed to coming back and saying, hey, listen, we know that this is an issue for a lot of people. Why don't we begin teaching and training them early on how to change that perspective?
So do you think it starts with boundaries as well? Does
definitely.
Boundaries start that process?
I think you can get into it in a lot of different ways, but certainly boundary is a way, because if we're not clear, right, about what is appropriate or inappropriate in terms of boundaries, that's one concept within boundaries, then we allow people to break through those boundaries, and then they're in our space, and we think that it's okay for them to come into our space to try to change us, to do something to us in our space. But having a clear set of boundaries and understanding what boundaries are, then no, this right here is me, right? That over there is you, and it's okay for us to be different. Right. And it's okay for me to say no without feeling guilty. Well, you asked me to do this. Unfortunately, I can't do that now. But a lot of us can't even do that. And so other people encroach in our space, in our boundaries. They come into our space. And so now we feel like we have to be different than who we really are so that we can please that person.
Yeah, make them comfortable.
Make them, right. Yes, that's it. Make them comfortable.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of work. So do you think, I got a lot of questions tonight, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's good. Go.
So yes, we know it's boundaries, but do you think these boundaries, the ones that we have that need to be changed, do you think it's a learned thing? Did we learn it from our families, our parents? We watched and saw how they did things, and then that's just how we did it until we learned differently. Does that make sense?
So your question is this what we had prior to learning, is that a direct result of the family? Is that the question? Yeah.
Yes.
And I think in a large part it is, right? Because our family of origin, the things that we learn in our family of origin are the things that we do. Now, well, let me say it a little differently. Our family of origin influences the things that we do, because there are some cases where you grew up seeing something that you don't like, right?
Right.
And you end up doing exactly the same thing, even though you didn't like it, but because that's the pattern that you saw. There are other people who saw things that they didn't like, and they said to themselves, I'm never going to do that again, or I'm never going to be like that. And so they do the opposite. Now, the question for me always is which person does which one? Like, well, why does one person repeat the pattern and then the other person does the exact opposite of the pattern? Now notice that both of them can get themselves into trouble, right? Because the person who does exactly the same thing is just going down the same path. Right. And the person who says, I don't want to do it, they go sometimes to the other extreme.
Yeah.
Right. To get away from what they were doing or what was going on in the family. But a lot of what we grew up knowing in terms of boundaries, it comes from the family. We're the wood. So let's talk about us. Right. So, so in our family, there was not I don't know that we knew what boundaries were. Let me say it that way.
That's true.
There were no boundaries. Let me say that.
No,
right?
they
So
weren't.
everybody was in everybody's space, and everybody, right, influenced everybody, and everybody said anything to
Yeah.
anybody. So
Yeah.
there was not a clear, okay, this here. And I
Mm-hmm.
think in a lot of cases, as children, our boundaries were blurred by the adults that were in our lives because it was felt
Mm-hmm.
that you're a child and you really don't
Mm-hmm.
have boundaries, right? I don't know that people
Right.
said that. I don't know that they said that, but
In
they
word.
behaved in that way.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So
That's
growing
true.
up, there wasn't a clear teaching that yes, you are allowed to say no, because if you
Mm-hmm.
said no,
It was a
you got
problem.
to. Well, first of all, you couldn't say no. Let me say that you could not say the word no,
We didn't even know how to spell it. How about that?
right? And you could behave as though you were saying no, but there were
Mm-hmm.
consequences to that. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of those things that we don't understand until we get older.
You're older. Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't know how to say no. You allow so many things to happen that you know it should not,
Hmm.
right? But because you don't know how to say no, you never taught how to say no or allow yourself to feel that, like, hey, what are you doing? Just things go completely left, right, upside down,
Right, right.
So, yeah.
And so then we spend years and years and years trying to,
Fix
and I don't
that.
want to say trying because sometimes we don't even realize it, but we spend years and years in a state of disarray as we try to make our way through life. But
Mm-hmm.
some of the disarray that we see is because of some of the things that we bring with us, some of the
Yeah.
perspectives that we
Mm-hmm.
that we gathered. Now, let me hasten to say that I think, and we say that, I say that here with my family, with my son, that I'm continuing to learn. And there's sometimes I got to go back to him and say, hey man, Daddy's sorry. I mean, I did not, because he'll say, I'll say something to him with one perspective in mind
Mm-hmm.
and not even listen to what he said. Right? He's Daddy. That's no. And I was like, you should have done da. Right? So I'll go through and then come to the end of the conversation now, and then he'll say, well, Daddy, that's not what happened. This is what happened. And he'll explain, and then I've got to say, okay, wow, and hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should have listened, or I should have da. Right?
Yeah.
So
I
so it's a big thing.
It is. It is a big thing, and
Mhm.
it's funny that you say that because the same scenario that you presented just now is the same thing me and my son go through. Like we'll have conversations. We call them loud conversations. We have,
Right.
and I'm coming from my perspective. I'm the parent. Like, you're supposed to listen to what I'm saying, and he's like, yes, I understand you're the parent, but I have an opinion as well. And so, so we clash. But then after a while, I have to step back and say, well, would I have liked this when I was younger? Would this be okay? And so then it simmers down and we can hear each other. And then sometimes I have to go back and say, sorry.
Yep.
I apologize for either saying it in a certain kind of way or not listening to you or not validating your feelings. These are the things that we didn't know
Mm. Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
were younger, right? So, yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So what? Okay, so someone comes along and they're in a family of origin. They learn some stuff, and let's talk specifically about boundaries. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think are some boundaries that we should teach to people who are coming along, to our kids, for example?
Well, I mean, well, we said no is one of them. It's not something I would like to do. You know, um, Boundaries.
Wait. You know what? So I have to jump in there
What?
because I have to tell you a funny story. So one time I asked Blake to do something,
Right.
and he said to me, he said, "Daddy, I don't think that's gonna work for me." Man, I got so mad.
Well, see, the next thing I was going to say is we have to teach them how to say no respectfully and in a way that we can accept.
I don't think that. I said, well, let me tell you some stuff that's not gonna work for me.
That's funny.
but to the point though, we have to be willing to hear it,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Because in that instance, I don't even know. I mean, I didn't like the words, but I really didn't even want him to say no. I just wanted him to do what I'm telling you to do, right?
But that comes from our background. Do as you're told. You know, you don't get a say. You know.
Right.
Yeah. So you got triggered.
Man, I'm saying, triggered hard. Triggered hard. Okay. So saying no. I think also probably expressing preferences.
Yes.
Being able to express, okay, this is what and it's not no, right? It's this is what I think about a certain thing.
Right.
And you know, so with kids sometimes that's a little hard because they're like, well, I don't know. But teaching them that they do have a voice and they can express their voice, and we may not always do what they're expressing, but it is considered. And there are some times where that's how it's going to be. I mean, and you know, that happens all the time here in our place where Blake will say, and sometimes he doesn't want to say it because he doesn't think we're going to do it. And I said, well, if you don't tell me, definitely we're not doing it. But if you say it, we may do it.
And it helps you learn more about them as a person, not as my child, but as a person. I think we spoke about this maybe a couple of shows back about children being people as opposed to just people that we gave birth to, and then you have to do exactly what I say until you're 100. You know, they're people, and so if they don't speak to us and let us know what they prefer, and we have those conversations, we will never know who they are. We're always going to look at them as our child, and you must do as I say, even though they may be 100. You know, and so I think that's important.
True. Yeah. I love it. Okay, so in saying no, expressing their opinion. What else? What are the boundaries? Do you think we should teach?
Well, I think those are the biggest ones that I could think about right now. Because I had a big conversation, you know, with my son today about exactly that. These two primary things that we're speaking about right now, you know, to safeguard themselves. So I think those are the primary ones, and I guess you would figure them out as they come. But I think as long as you can express and say your preferences and no to certain things, I think that's the basis of it.
Okay. And your perspective informs those things, right? Because your perspective of life and who you are and who other people are, then those will influence how you say no and how you express your preferences. So cool. Yeah.
I think those two are key.
And it all kind of ties together.
It does. Wow. It does.
Cool. Man, all that from the Tide. From the Tide.
I still don't like that Tide and tithe
are so close
together.
Oh, cool.
Oh my God.
All right. So what's been going on with your journals and stuff? Anything new happening there?
I'm still proofing. I'm fixing
Mm-hmm.
and tweaking, and so I still have the 5 that are up there, and 4 more to come. So I'm still writing, still creating,
Okay.
making them. Yeah, they're there. They're there. They're coming. I yeah,
Okay. Yeah. No problem. No problem.
they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm halfway through the month on my channel, doing my interviews.
Yeah, I see them.
Yeah, so I've had some amazing people. India Delgado was tonight.
Hmm.
Kirk Nugent a couple nights
Hmm.
ago, and then Dr. Ruby Lathan, Dr. Raynon Andrews, and then I did a thing. Was it last night that I did that on? Or a couple of nights before that on failing into success is what I think I called the title. How do you fail into success? Because a lot of people think that success it's a success, right? So you got to be making progress in that direction. But often you fail your way into success. You have a lot of failures before you get there. And that's something I think we need to teach our kids, that that you will have failures, and that doesn't mean that that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what's going on in my world, and I'm working on a another ebook.
Oh.
I was trying to find someone to help me edit it together, but it's slow.
Hey, take your time. Take your time. It's no rush.
No
'Cause
rush,
when it's
no
out there, it's out there.
It's out there. So, well, cool. Well, anyway, guys, so this has been a great talk with the Woods. Thank you for coming through. We're into the woods, right? Into the woods, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. As you see, we go live, right? We're in the live thing now. And we did that. I mean, we did that for a couple of reasons. Number one was that the editing for the show takes a long time, right? So when you record, you edit, and when it takes a long time, because when you're editing, then you see all this stuff and you want to cut that, move this around, put that there, and move this around, right? When you go live, you hit the button and it's recorded, and what you guys see is what you see.
Is it?
It happens live and in person. So what you see is what you see, and when we hit that button that says end, then it's done. So this is fun. If you've not already done so, please go ahead and like this video and the videos that we've done before, and subscribe to the channel. You want to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you don't have an account, you can create a free account on YouTube, then log in, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And then, of course, share this with people. Share it. Let them know the conversations that we're having. The intention for Into the Woods is that you get to understand and see some of who we are. And if you identify with that, then we can all come out of the woods together. You get that? Into the woods and then out of the woods. Right? Well, we appreciate you being here with us tonight. This is Dwayne.
This is Danita. Good night.
Good night. We'll see you at the next episode. All right. Good night, everybody.